Hi everyone, my name is Bindu and I'm the owner of Crafty Meraki. I started Crafty Meraki earlier this year because of my passion for crafting. I am very new to Scrapbook Expo and this is my first time at the Shop at Home events, so I wanted to introduce myself and my company to you all. At Crafty Meraki, we carry all major brands and we have most new releases in stock. This is the Crafty Meraki website, and on the website you can shop either by brand or by category. For example, you see here inks, embellishments, stencils, dies, stamps. You can shop by category, or again, you can shop by brands like you see here. If you go to collections, you can see all the brands that we carry, and you can just click on any one of the brands and it'll take you to that brand and you can shop for that brand directly. We ship most orders either the same day or the very next business day. We have free shipping for all orders above $50 within the United States, and all orders under $50 ship for $5 flat fee. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see daily inspiration from the design team, and follow us on YouTube to see video tutorials from the design team as well. For today's project, we're going to be using this slimline die called Craft Around, which I designed myself. However, we're not making cards today. We're going to make these lovely ornaments and tags. So even though this is actually a slimline die, we're going to really stretch our supplies today. We're going to make these ornaments with the same die. So I started by die cutting from a red cardstock using this Craft Around slimline die. I tried to get a head start so I could save some time. But I cut a bunch of panels like this with red cardstock, and you can see here that we have some amazing marquee cuts left out from those die cuts. Don't get rid of those because you'll see we're going to use them for our projects. I also die cut the same panel from a gold glitter cardstock, and I saved the marquee cuts from it as well. Next, I'm going to cut a bunch of circles from green glitter cardstock to use as the base for our ornaments. You can either use a circle punch or a die like I'm using here to die cut circle shapes from any cardstock for that matter. Cut out as many circles as you would like to make ornaments and have them all ready. Once you have all your circles cut out and ready, we can move on to our next step. Next, we're going to take our die cut panel that we cut from red cardstock, and we're going to add glue to the back of the panel. You can see I already got another head start here, and I attached one of the circles already to the panel, but we're going to do the same thing a few times. Once you add glue to the back of the red panel, take your circle die cuts and attach the front side to the back of this red panel. So flip your circle cut and glue it down to the red panel. Press the circle down in place, and if you flip it over, this is what the front of our ornament is going to look like. We're going to let the glue dry on those first two circles that we just glued, but in the meantime, we're going to make another ornament, but this time we're going to do the die cut inlay technique, and we're going to make an ornament with the leftover marquee cuts that I was just talking about. Remember I said don't throw away the leftover marquee cuts, and we're going to use them? This is what we're going to do. So we're going to use our die cut panel as a stencil, and as you just saw me do here, apply very tiny little bit of glue in the openings where the marquee cuts would go, and start placing the cuts one at a time into the open areas. So here are some tips. Make sure to use very tiny little bit of glue because you don't want the glue to stick to the panel and then the panel's never going to come off the circle, the ornament. So the next tip is to use a jewel picker. I'm using a crystal katana here, but use any jewel picker that you may have. The one that you would use to pick up crystals or gems with, I use the same picker, gem picker, to pick up these tiny little die cuts. As you can see me here, I'm picking up one piece at a time with this jewel picker and placing them in the open areas through the front panel. I know this looks tedious, but we're only covering a very small circle here, and I'm also not covering the whole circles where there would be half cuts. You'll see what I mean. I'm only covering that center portion where all the marquee pieces actually fit. We're going to continue placing the marquee cuts in the open areas until we have this diamond pattern covered with the marquee cuts. You'll see what I mean here in a minute when I'm done. But these pieces do really fit in like a puzzle. Another tip to share here is that I'm using my 𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐻𝐿 Make Art Station because I want to make sure that my panel and the circle die cut underneath it don't move while I'm doing this die cut inlay. This is probably the time to have your girlfriends over to chit chat and talk away while you're working. Or maybe have some Christmas music playing in the background. So like I said, this is actually a slimline die, but this can be used in many different ways as you're seeing. You could also use this panel on an A2 size card. While the glue dries on this panel, let me show you what I mean. Here's an example of a slimline die being used on an A2 size card. I used a Crafty Meraki slimline die called You Are My Sunshine to make this A2 size card. I used Distress inks to ink blend on a white cardstock panel, and I simply die cut it using the You Are My Sunshine die. I used this Crafty Meraki stamp called Shine On to gold emboss onto a black cardstock. Then I simply fussy cut around the gold embossed flowers on the inside of the panel. After that, I flipped over the black cardstock, and as you can see, I went crazy with the pop dots here. I basically foam mounted the black panel and I stuck it on to the ink blended panel die cut with the sunshine die. Simply trim the excess sunshine pattern off the sides and mount this whole panel onto a card base. And then add your sentiment and voila, you're done. See how easy that is? and what a way to stretch your supplies. So try it out for yourself. Okay, so back to our ornaments. The die cut inlay that we did has dried nicely, so I am carefully removing the top panel that we used as a stencil from the ornament to reveal the diamond pattern on the circle die cut. Ta-da! And I couldn't just make one ornament and stop, I had to make more. So back to the panel where we glued the circles directly onto the die cut. I'm taking a pair of scissors and I'm going to fussy cut around the circle that we glued on to this craft around slimline pattern. First, I'm going to cut as close to the circle as possible, like that. And I'm going to fussy cut around the circle. I find that it's easier to cut from the back rather than from the front. So you see me here, I flipped it over and I cut around the back. I feel that this is easier, so if it works for you, you can try cutting from the front, but for me, this is what worked the best. So I'm simply going to cut out the circles from all the 4 that I glued onto the panel. And then we'll reveal what the ornament looks like. Once you cut it out and flip it over, this is what the ornament will look like on the front. I'm going to continue to fussy cut the other 3 circles that I had glued on. And I'm in the end going to be left with 4 ornaments. I don't know about you, but I actually enjoy fussy cutting, something therapeutic about it. But make sure to use a sharp pair of scissors. I always like to keep a pair of 𝐂𝐭𝐡 Success scissors just for fussy cutting, and I don't do anything else with that scissors. So here's a tip. All right, so here's the front of the ornament. Once we have all of our ornaments ready, I'm going to take a tiny punch. It's a circle punch, and I believe it's a 3/16 of an inch punch. I'm going to flip it over and punch in the middle so that we can put our ribbon through and hang our ornaments. I'm going to do that for all the 4 ornaments that you see here. So you see here that I have 2 ornaments I made using the die cut inlay technique and 2 ornaments where I simply glued on the die cut panel onto the glitter circle die cut. Once we have our holes punched, we're ready to move on to the next step. Ta-da! We're gonna have some fun. We can't have ornaments without bling. We have to bling it up. So I'm using this Pink Fresh Studio Essentials Jewel Mix, and I'm picking out some colors to see which ones I like to use on the ornaments. By the way, we have the Pink Fresh Studio Essentials Jewel Mix available on our website. Stick around till the end for a special discount code so you can get this for an even better deal. So back to our ornaments. I decided I wanted to use the green jewels from this Pink Fresh Studio Essentials Jewel Mix. And I'm simply going to use a tiny dot of glue everywhere I want to place the jewel mix. Once I'm done placing the glue dot, I'm going to take my jewel picker again and carefully pick out one jewel at a time and place them on top of the glue dot. Time for another tip. This tray that you see me use, the triangle tray, is actually a bead tray. But if you're like me and you like to bling it up, you know that this is a super cool thing to have in your stash. All you have to do is place your jewels in the tray and shake it just like you saw me do it. And it flips over the sequins or the jewels, so it's easy for you to just pick up with your tool and place on top of the glue dot. So I'm going to finish adding the jewels to all the ornaments just like we just did. Here's what it looks like when it's all done. I made some of the ornaments like this one with pearls instead of jewels. So I tried to switch it up, used pearls on some and used jewels on the others. After we made the ornaments, I decided I also wanted to make a tag the same way. So I simply die cut onto red cardstock using a tag die. And you see that I use this gold die cut panel as a stencil. And I'm gluing on the gold cutout marquees into the tag through the die cut panel on the top. That sounded like a lot, but essentially we're doing the same thing we did for the ornament. We're using die cut inlay technique to make a tag. So I'm going to continue gluing the gold glitter cardstock die cuts through the openings onto the gift tag. Once again, I'm using my 𝐂𝐤𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐵 Make Art Station to make sure that my panel and the gift tag don't move while I'm gluing the die cut inlay pieces. The magnets I found are really helpful when you're doing something like this. In fact, I use my station more than anything else. Even when I'm watercoloring, I use this Make Art Station and I simply put the magnets on top of the watercolor panel and I watercolor. I find that it works personally for me much better than tape would. So you don't see me using tape here, but if tape works for you, great. By all means, feel free to use tape, whatever works for you. So I'm going to finish gluing the marquee cuts, and once the glue is dry, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to carefully remove the top panel while making sure that the inlay pieces are glued down and they don't peel off of the tag. And you see me using the sharp tip of the jewel picker to press down the inlay pieces while I'm carefully lifting the panel with my left hand. Once all that is done, we're ready to use a ribbon and make our tag. I'm doing the same thing for all the other ornaments as well. I'm using this gold ribbon and I'm simply gonna cut it to size and thread it through the ornaments using that punch hole that we made earlier. And there you have it. Your ornaments and gift tags are now ready. Here are some slimline cards that I made using the Craft Around Slimline die. Once again, I made a die cut card and a die cut inlay card. So I got a twofer using just one ink blended panel and one die cut. Here's another slimline card I made using the same die. I simply added a gold embossed flower image on a vellum paper on top of the die cut panel. Last but not least, I want to share with you this card that one of our design team members made. She used another slimline die called Crafty Plaid to make the ornaments that you see here on the card. So as a show special, today only use code SSBE20 to take 20% off of your entire purchase. Don't forget to follow us and subscribe on our YouTube channel for daily dose of inspiration. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I hope you are inspired to create. Merry Christmas, everyone! And I wish you a very happy New Year ahead. I hope to see you all soon at another Shop at Home event. Until then, stay happy, stay crafty. Bye!